do watercoloring a holiday card. And if you're seeing my card now, you might be thinking, really, pigs? Really? Yes, I had to use the pigs. So I kind of brought in a couple of different things in this one. And I want to just make sure that you can see. I don't usually combine this many different stamp sets and materials and what have yous, but you know, the goal of this is to watercolor, but I still thought it was really fun. So I started out with the base, my A2 card, out of the basic black, and then I cut my watercolor paper, and it's just one layer on top of it. And so this is 5.5 by 4.25 is your basic A2. So this is going to be 5.25 by 4. And we're going to cut that out of our watercolor paper. I'm going to turn off this camera because I'm not going to be sitting in a place where you're going to get to see me. So let's watch my hands for a while instead of me. You're going to see like my neck. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is get all my papers organized and cut. What I did with this is I ran it through this brick embossing folder. We're going to do that first. So let's move some of this. I have like 18 things layered here. Move you back there. All right. Mr. Big Shot, come on over. And remember, when you're using the Big Shot and the embossing folders, you're going to use the regular platform, not the not the magnetic one, just the regular one. And you don't need that second thin die adapter because it's not thin dies, it's an embossing folder. And I'm going to pop you guys in. You have to think about which way you want your bricks to go. I wanted mine to go this way. And you kind of want to make sure that you're lining this up so that you have a nice straight brick wall, because you're going to be really annoyed if you don't. Pop that in. Put your top layer in and crank it on through. Whoops, hold on. Don't do that. I'm so sorry. You need to cut your fireplace out first before you emboss. Cut first, emboss second. Okay, so all that I just told you was not true. I am going to use my magnetic plate because I am going to cut my dies. Sorry to confuse you. The die that I used, because I wanted this garland to go around my fireplace. This garland is from the At Home bundle. It's the one with the door in it that we used earlier. We've used this one quite a bit. But I wanted this garland to go around my fireplace. So to get the right size, I used the door cut. All right. So this is the door. But I don't want a door, and I don't want it this tall. So I'm going to grab my watercolor, and I used the bottom of the door. It's not going to show anyway, but notice the top has a bigger header than the base does. So I use this one. You could also use one of the squares from the stitch shapes. That would do it. It's going to be a little bit wider, but it would still work. And I'm deciding how big and how tall is my fireplace. I eyeballed it, but what I ended up doing was I wanted to be sure that this pig could still reach a stocking. So I kind of positioned the pig here and said, oh, okay, that'll work. So I brought in my pig stamp and I put that in. And I kind of adjusted it to figure out how tall my fireplace needed to be. So whoever's going to hang the stockings, you might be using that You've Got Style lady in her fur coat. So you might want a little bit taller fireplace for her. You might be using the Bella and Friends puppies and you might want a little shorter one for them. So you adjust this for whoever's going to be hanging their stockings. And then you're going to run it through. Notice this is below, so I'm just going to let it hang off the bottom. Okay, cut first, emboss second. So we've cut, and we're going to save this little piece to do some of our accessories. And now we got to swap out the plate and bring in the regular platform. And now we're going to line this up in our embossing folder where you want it. Pop this through. If you do this the other way, when you run it through to cut it, you flatten all your embossing out of it. So if you just think about what you're doing, you won't do it wrong. Plus, you'll watch what I just did and it won't happen. All right, so now I have, this is my background, okay? And it's embossed. And you can see it looks kind of funky here, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to put the garland over that and it's going to cover it up. So there's that. Now I need my garland. Remember the watercolor comes in 6x9s, so I'm going to have this piece left over. I'm going to pop that down, and I'm going to use my garland. And I'm also going to use the wreath that came with this Still at Home with You. There's another wreath that you can use. I just like the look of this one, and these are going to be the ones that go around the pig's neck. I only need one wreath. I'm going to cut it in half, and it's going to give me enough to do each pig. All right. So, but I don't want to do this first. I want to stamp them first because I want to make sure that my Thinlit lines up around them. So, what I did to get the most out of this little piece of paper, I put both of those stamps on one block because they're going to get cut out, so that will work. So let's move our big shot over. And let's bring our watercolor in. And again, I'm using the gray archival, which has run away. Where are you? I had everything out for you. If I was gray archival, where would I be? Do you see it on the table? Nope. Okay, I'll just keep looking. Basic gray. There you are. Hello. And remember, I use this to watercolor because it doesn't really leave a big dark outline. You can see it on the pig more than you can see it on the garland. All right. So ink up my garland and my wreath. Make sure I have a good cover. And then pop those down. Now, ideally, what you're going to want to do is cut these out. Is color these before you cut these out. It takes a bit of time to do that, so I'm going to do a little bit so that you can see them, but I'm not going to go through all of them because it really did take a bit of time to color them. So this is what we want to look like. So I took my old olive green and I went through and I didn't color. Let's zoom in a little so that you can see it better. I didn't color really exactly. Hey, Kathy. What I did was get some color down the center like this. Okay? Make sure you leave where your berries are. And again, it's a lot of leaves. It takes a little bit. You do the same thing on your wreath. Get all your coloring in with your pencil. Then you're going to grab your blender And you're going to blend your green and get everything colored. And what this does, by not coloring them in all the way, it gets you some lights and darks on the leaves, which makes them a little bit more realistic. Okay, same thing with this one. Now, I could have used my red pencil to get my berries. And when I do that, let me show you what they look like. Okay, and I can highlight them a little by adding my blender, but I really wanted them more distinct. So what I did was I took my marker in real red, and I actually used this end, if I show it to you, which is more like a paintbrush, and I did my berries with this. And you can see that it's a different red. So you have to make that decision. It's definitely a different red. This is more, even though they're both the same color, they're both real red, you just get a more vibrant color with the marker than you do with the pencil. So it's up to you what you like. You can also then take your Wink of Stella and just go over your berries a little bit with the clear Wink of Stella. And that will add a little bit of sparkle to them, but you're still going to be kind of muted. It's a watercolor, right? You could also, if you don't have the real red marker, take the real red ink from your ink pad, pick up a little bit of that with your blender pen, and use that to color your berries. And you can see it's pretty similar to what the marker does. Okay? Oh, no, you can't see anything because I zoomed in. Let's let you see. Let me try it again, since you actually can't see a darn thing when I didn't have you on camera. This is the real red. And this is the marker right here. So really pretty similar, right? Clean your blender pen off. When you've used the ink pad, I tend to grab my spray for my Stampin' Mist and really get it a little bit more wet with that, and it will clean it a little bit better. You can also clean it on your Stampin' Scrub, but you can see that that cleans it. Even though it's stained, it's still not going to put red on my next thing. All right? Okay, so that's how I did those two things. All the way around. And then that's going to go on around my fireplace. Let's go back to our fireplace, though, which we just ran through the embosser. And now to get this to look like bricks, I took my brown first, and I'm just going to go in between each one of these lines that the embossing folder did. All right. And this goes pretty quick. You just go through the whole thing. You don't have to be fussy. You just want to get the lines in there. And then you're going to take the red and you're going to really lightly, if you want red brick, go over, and you're thinking that does not look like what you have, Kara. I'm not done yet. Go over this, And it really, you don't have to be fussy. You're just going to get a little bit on there. I then took a little bit more of the brown and kind of went in it. A little bit of brown. And I also took the gray and went over it with a little bit of gray. Okay? Then I took my aqua painter. Remember, that's this one, which has water in it. And I just started painting. And notice the color catches in the where the embossing folder left the ridges, and you start to blend in and get your look of brick, right? Isn't that cool? I love it. You don't see the lines of where you laid the pencil down. And it looks kind of antique-y brick. Now, if I was trying to do new brick, I could add some ink to this if I wanted a more red. Remember, we did this with an earlier one. If you have it like this and you squeeze, when you open it up, you'll get a little bit of ink here, and then you can pick up the ink. And you can see that you get a different look that way. Okay? So whatever you're thinking, whatever the look that you want, whatever your fireplace looks like, and you lay that down. So the ink, if you're using your ink pad, it gives you a more vibrant color than to clean this. You just squeeze it and you'll see that the water comes out, and you keep doing it till it's clean. Even though it's stained, it's clean. All right, and that's just on a paper towel. You're never going to make these look exactly the same, so you just want to play with them until you get the look that you want. All right, now, so this is going to go on my card like this, and then I'm going to, now I have my fireplace opening. All right, so let's move this over here. This card's going to be unique because it's not really done, but we're going to keep looking at the one that is done, and it will make sense. I need to cut these guys out and then assemble them. And then I have to do my pigs. So what I'm going to do with the pigs is, I looked at these and I thought about masking, and I decided that since I was going to cut them out anyway, I don't really need to mask them. So I didn't mess with it. You could, if you wanted, and mask away the sentiments. There are also people who say, I'm never going to use those sentiments. I'm just going to cut them off. They are your stamps. So you can do whatever you want. So we're going to ink up this guy. This is the one that's hanging his stocking. And then ink up this guy. And I don't want to put him on there because I don't want to mess up that other one. You should have room. I've just played a lot with it. Let's put these both over here. Okay, so there's our pigs. We also need our stocking. And this one came from Santa's sleigh. Right here. Gosh, I'm zoomed in the wrong place so you can't see everything. There. But I didn't get him nice and smooth, so I'm going to do him again. And again, it's easier if you color first and then cut out. But you don't, I mean, you can do either way. It doesn't really matter. There are dies for this one in Santa's Sleigh bundle, and there's a die for this in the At Home bundle. The pigs do not have a die, so we're fussy cutting the pigs. So I wanted to do, now on my pigs on my card, I colored them with a pink pencil. I think they're just a tad too pink, so I'm going to try them. I mean, they're okay. They're cute. They got sunburn sitting in front of the fire. I'm going to try them tonight with one of my ink pads, and I'm going to use Pink Pirouette, which is really pale. And before I paint a pig, I'm just going to try this. Whoops. I need to squeeze it. And now I've got a little bit of ink over here, and that becomes my palette. And I'm going to put a little bit of water because I want this a little more blushy than what we had. I don't want it quite so hot pink. And let's test him on this pig. And the same idea. I just go over the pig. I don't really worry. I'm going to cut him out so it's not horrible if I don't get him within the lines. But I sure can. I don't have to go that fast. And I'm going to lay down my color. And I kind of like this color better. And I'm getting the same look on my watercolor. Now, I don't have any shading going on right now. So what I'm going to do is let this dry a little. And then I'm going to come back and add another layer, maybe some from straight here. And then this side of the pig should be a little bit darker. And see how the more you add on, you can get a darker color. And this is just using the aqua painter and your ink. All right. You can always come back if you think, oh, I got too much, I got carried away. Get all your ink off and then come back with the water and go this way. And see how it moves the color over to the other side. So now I have a little bit more shading on my pig. I like this color better. He needs his tail done though. The only thing you have to be careful about with this is you'll get a little bit more bleeding, and it's a little harder to control exactly. Notice I have a little bit of bleeding up by his face. So, but I'm going to cut him out so I can cut close to that. And to do his hooves, I'm going to come in and use my pencil because I can get the detail that I want on the hoofs with the gray. Now remember, I'm going to cut that flower off, but I kind of like this color better than I did the pencil. Okay. So now to make my pig look like the pig in the picture, yeah, I like this color way better. I took my little snips, and you just have to be patient, and you're going to fussy cut your pig. Now on these guys, I cut them really quick on the actual card. This time I'm going to cut right on the line. You might need your good glasses for it, but you can see how you get a better look with the pig if you are right along the edge. Notice I'm turning the paper, not the scissors. Come on, pig. Now my pig's not quite dry, it's a little damp, so I'm kind of folding my paper. But you can see if you just cut his hand, not his hand, you cut right tight to his hand, you can get rid of that flower. Okay? and it's better if you let him dry. So go on and do something else. When you get all done, I'm going to stop right now because I want to show you something else. When you get this all set, you're then going to come back in, and I use, again, my black pen from my marker set. And I just do a little highlight. On him, his eyes are closed, so it's not going to matter. But I kind of want to see his face a little better, maybe. I might want to see his nostrils because, hey, he's a pig. But you can highlight with the black pen from the marker set. And you can buy the individual pens by themselves. Okay? Okay, so pig's all done in HSN land where you do things really super fast. And then you're going to take, let's move this over. And let's bring this back. And remember, I'm using, this time, I'm going to actually use my thin dies, so I want my magnetic platform. Or, if you don't have the magnetic platform, you're going to want your Big Shot platform and your thin die adapter, okay? Depending on what you have at your house. And you're put your plate down, and then you're going to put the pieces that you've already colored. Imagine those are colored already. And then I'm going to pop this on and line it up. A little too much light there for you. All right, and then this wreath, did you notice on this wreath, the stamp set has this little triangle and there's a coordinating doohickey on the thinlit? It's to help you line it up. So I know that when I position this stamp, the little doohickey is at the top. So when I put this down, I don't have to do a whole lot of which way does this go? Right? You can see that it just fits right in there. Okay, now we're going to run this on, and it's not the end of the world if it isn't. It's okay. And you run this through. You're also going to want to do your stocking. Which looks like this. We'll get to that in a minute. So there's your garland and there's your wreath. Notice it popped the center out of the wreath as well, right? But what I want to do with our pigs is, I'm going to use these guys. I took the wreath and I just cut it in half. So we just picked a spot where I wasn't cutting through berries and I wasn't cutting through, I cut between leaves, and I brought it in. When you put it on the pig, if it needs a little trimming, see this looks kind of square. It's kind of flat across there and I didn't really like that too much. So what I did was I just took this, I did a little bit of trimming of my garland, and it fits a pig's neck better then. Okay, and imagine it's around a cutout pig who's gone. I don't know where he went. We have a partially cut out pig, but anywho, so now I have my two wreaths for my pig, and I have my garland. So my garland's going to go here. And you can see that it covers up all the kind of weird looking things there. The garland just covers it up. And now you're ready to place your pigs and their stocking. This is the pig that was holding the flower, but now he's hanging his stocking and this pig is watching. You could add a fire to the fireplace if you wanted, or some Yule logs. And then to do this, I used from my lots of labels. You've got all these different sizes of these really great Thinlits. And I cut my black for my background. And then my white, I'm going to stamp it first. And I did not do this on watercolor paper. I did this on Whisper White. But remember, it's much easier if you stamp first and then cut, rather than try and get this. And if you mess it up, you don't worry about it. And I used black. I wanted it to really show and go with the black cardstock. So I brought in nice black and white. And I picked Happy Christmas from the Oh What Fun stamp set we've been using all month. Make sure you got a good solid inking. And I'm using my foam pad because I'm using one of the clear stamps that don't have foam in them. And then we are good. It's back to our big shot, which truthfully, if it's not under a camera, I don't do this much of moving around of it. But I do a lot of moving when you guys are here. Move you over. Bring you back. And you just line this up. Now this is the one I used for the black. So I want the smaller one so that I'm going to have a nice frame around it. Roll it on through. And then you pop that right on there. And oh, I know what I wanted to share with you. When I was hanging the garland and also to put the wreaths on the pig, they're really tiny. So I used the fine tip glue pen. It worked better than trying to use snail or any of my other glues that might show behind it. So when I put these on, just used this glue and just ran a really thin bead, right? And then I also, the big trick for this is to not glue it to your finger. Now I could always come back and color this later, even though this card is going to look really weird. I could always come back to it. Now what if I looked at this and said, boy, that's just too pink. No fireplace in my life looks like that. I could bring in my gray pencil and I can go over this now that it's dried. And it's going to subdue the colors a little bit. Now again, that doesn't look wonderful, but I'm going to bring in my aqua painter and I'm going to blend that in a little. And I'm getting a much more subdued color than that hot pink fireplace I had a minute ago. I could also do that with the gray ink if I wanted to bring some of that in. Watercolor is really forgiving. It lets you come back and do some more things. Now, to be perfectly honest, if I was really that unhappy with it, it's a 4x5 piece of watercolor paper. I would just do it again. I would go back and start fresh if I don't like it. You know, if it really just, the color's just not doing it, then I would just say, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Pop this off, go run that through the embossing folder. It was quick enough to do, probably less time to start fresh than it would be to try and fix what you don't like. And do it again, okay? So that goes there. I really don't know what I did with our little pig. I did have one in my travels, and I do like his color better, but he's really gone. Gone forever. I'll find him after you leave. That's crazy. Where would he go? What is that song? Oh, where, little pig, have you gone? I shouldn't sing either. Okay, so that's that. I put it together using a little bit of dimensionals behind my sign. I also added a couple of little glitzy diamonds to this, but hey, they're pigs. And we're good to go. All right. All right. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any watercoloring questions? No, we've done a lot of watercoloring this week. I'm hoping you're feeling more comfortable with it. It is one of my favorites. I think it's just the most relaxing technique. It does take time. It's not as quick as just stamping and going. It really isn't. But I think watercoloring is really fun. I really like doing it. Bye, Facebook Live, folks. Oh, all right, Carol, I won't leave yet to those people that are watching out there. The question is the difference between a blender pen and the aqua painter. The blender pen comes with a solution. It works really well with the watercolor pencils. If you want to use the inks, your ink pad, then the aqua painter works better for that. The aqua painter also gives you a bigger, I don't have that big a brush with the blender, although I have two. I don't have the size of these that I have. This gives you more of a water wash, so if you're using it for a background color, the aqua painters work really well. The blender pen literally blends your colors. So if you're working on your pig, you're going to want to blend your color. Let me show you the difference between the two. So let's say I wish I had a different color than that red. I've tried everything. I tried the pink too. Let me see if I go really light pink. It's Calypso Coral. So let's say if we do our pig and we go really light, we're not going to do much. Maybe we can get him not quite so pink. And I'm going to do a little color down here. Okay, now let's watch the difference. Let me zoom in a little. This is what the blender pen can do. It takes those lines away, but it doesn't add a ton of liquid to my paper. So I don't get blurring. I don't get any kind of bleeding outside the lines. I can be a little more specific with my color. Okay? I can still, if I want to pick up color, I can lay a little bit of color down over here. I can take my blender pen and I'm picking up that color, and then I can bring it over here and add a little more that way. Because I'm thinking the inside of his ears should be lighter than the outside. Okay, now the aqua painter does something similar, but it's water. So I'm going to get more of a wash look, more of a gauzy feel. Still cool. I still like it. I think it has a purpose. You know, you can kind of blend with this too. All right, did that help? And I actually like this color better. What I did when I colored him before, that was Calypso Coral. I think I used Melon Mambo on these guys. And they're a little too pink for me. They're kind of hot pinky. The Calypso Coral gives you a little more realistic pig look. And then the one that we did, that he's long gone, he's run away. But that one I used the Pink Pirouette stamp pad. Debbie, you like the water better? Okay. You cannot use, let's do one more thing while we're talking about the differences in the product. You cannot really get that look on the Whisper White. So let's grab the Whisper White and stamp a pig. We can even stamp him in pink. Oh, I didn't clean him. It's probably not going to be pink. All right, so now we have a pink pig. And let's use our Calypso Coral. Not bad, Susan. Look at me. I know. Susan said I was brave for using both sides of the block. All right, so see, this doesn't work as well as forgiving on the Whisper White as it does the watercolor. It's still cool. Okay, I want to be able to show you both. So we're going to do the same thing we did. We're going to use our blender pen up here. Okay, so that's how that goes. You have to be careful. If you go too much, you get kind of balling of the paper. So there's that. And then here's our aqua painter. So, you know, it really is a look. And you do have to be careful with this. Too much water will make it ball up, or too much rubbing. You want to go really light. But the watercolor paper is much more forgiving. This will dry and it will be okay, but this looks more vibrant. Yes, the blender pen has a solution. The aqua painter is water that you fill it with. So this is a one-time purchase, really. When you buy these, you just fill them up with water. This comes with a solution. They eventually dry out and you have to, they're not refillable. You just toss them and you get a pack of 3 of them. I'm using my same pack of 3 that I've had since the beginning. Kind of getting dried out now. And there's 1 or 2 that I always grab the wrong one. But these do last a long time. But the aqua painters on the watercolor paper, which is this one, you can just see, I mean, granted, this pig's in gray and this is pink, but this just looks more dimensional. Right, they don't, as long as you keep them recapped, they do last a really long time. Yeah, I can hear it in there, actually. There is something in there. Okay, great question. I'm glad you asked, Carol. Are we good? All right. Well, thank you, Facebook. We're going to say goodbye. And goodbye to our recording.